Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, and welcome you to the 9th Annual General Meeting of Coast Capital Savings. My name is Bill Wellburn, and pursuant to Coast Capital's rules, I am your chair for the meeting. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm pleased you could join us to hear about Coast Capital's activities and achievements over the past year. In a few moments, I'll review how you can participate in the meeting. Once again this year, we have members join us over the internet via a live webcast. Welcome to those viewers. Webcast participants can submit questions via the submission box on the website or webcast viewer. And you can do this during the meeting. We'll include them with your comments, or include your comments and questions during the members' open forum later this evening. Our rules require that all members be notified of a general meeting. Notice of this annual general meeting was provided in the November and December 2008 as part of the annual call for nominations. This was mailed to all members. Further details were provided in the Board of Directors election material mailed to members in March 2009. Coast Capital's rules require that a minimum of 50 members in good standing constitute a quorum at a general meeting. Based on preliminary registration information and looking at the room, I declare that we are in compliance with the quorum. Registration for the meeting will stay open until 5:15 to allow for any late arrivals. And when registration closes, I'll ask the registrar to forward me the actual number of members registered this evening. And at that point, I'll advise the meeting as to the number of voting members in attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, the 9th Annual General Meeting of Coast Capital Savings is duly constituted for the transaction of business. Now, the information package. Everybody got one of these on the way in? If not, we can get one to you. I just refer to the agenda, and I'll review it briefly. After we deal with the required appointments for this meeting and introductions, I'll present the Board of Directors report. This will be followed by a report from our Chief Executive Officer, Lloyd Craig. The meeting will then receive the 2008 Auditor's Report and the 2008 Audited Financial Statements, followed by the appointment of external auditors for 2009. Under item number 12, Glenn Wong, the Chair of our Nominations Committee, will report the results of the 2009 Directors' election. Closing remarks will follow new business, and the formal business meeting is scheduled to conclude at approximately 6 p.m. Following the conclusion of the meeting, we'll announce the winner of the 2009 Director Election Contest. You will note item number 16 on the agenda. We're pleased to welcome Tony Bark here this afternoon from Deloitte. Deloitte is one of Canada's leading professional services firms, and he will be making a special presentation to Coast Capital Savings. The members' open forum will immediately follow the presentation of the award. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? A seconder, please. All in favor? Thank you. The rules of order are included with the agenda, and I'll review some of the key points. For voting at the meeting, number 5 notes that each member here tonight who is age 19 or over is entitled to one vote. Item number 6, voting will be done by show of hands using the registration packages. Just raise them up, please, or by a written ballot if the chair determines that it's appropriate and necessary to do so. As far as your participation in the meeting, if you go over the page, number 17, members must be recognized by the chair before speaking and must clearly state their name and branch affiliation. Number 18, only one member shall have the floor at any one time. If 2 or more members wish to speak at the same time, the chair will determine the speaking order. Number 19, discussion on motions or resolutions is limited to 3 minutes per member, except the mover may speak a second time to close debate. And the reason for the time limitation is to permit all who wish to speak an opportunity to do so. And number 21, debate shall be relevant to the particular motion that is being discussed. Are there any questions on the rules of order and debate and voting procedures? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve, please? Second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda, appointments of the Parliamentarian and Recording Secretary. I appoint Steve McEwen of the law firm Blake, Castles and Graydon, Parliamentarian for the meeting. I appoint Linda Taylor, Board Secretary, our Recording Secretary for the meeting. And I appoint Jerry Delamattia as our Returning Officer for the evening. And I'll now introduce our head table. At the far end, your right, my left, is Linda Taylor, our Recording Secretary. Next is Steve McEwen, our Parliamentarian. And closest to me is Lloyd Craig, our President and CEO. Now, I believe we have some guests in attendance. I don't have the list. I do have the list. We have former Director Gordon Munn, former Director Bert Hayes, former Director Elizabeth Woods. We have Tony Burke, who I'll introduce later at the presentation time from Deloitte's. We have Brady Jepson from Cumulus Insurance, Kate Mansell from Boys and Girls Club, Henry Kempoff from the Capital Regional District, and Rhonda Brown and Lisa, I can't quite get it, Mort Putton from Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Thank you for coming out this evening, and we appreciate your being here. The minutes of our last meeting are included in the package. The last meeting was held April 30th. The board has reviewed and approved the minutes. The minutes are now being presented for your information. Is there any business arising out of the minutes? Thank you. I'll now move to the report from the Board of Directors. And if you have any questions on the board report or the reports that follow, please make note of them. We have a lot of interesting information for you this evening, and questions that come to mind may be answered during the course. When we get to new business, I'll ask for any questions you may have on any of the reports provided to you this evening. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the board's report and the annual report talks about a number of things. I would just like to touch on some of them. I'd like to talk about the ups and downs of the business cycle and Coast's growth over the past few years and our commitment to the communities that we serve. I'd like to talk about how the board is well positioned to oversee and guide Coast through the uncertain times that lie ahead. And I want to say a final thank you to our CEO, who's going to be retiring after serving Coast for over 23 years. First, I'd like to provide some context. Lloyd will be talking about the details of our financial results for 2008, and I thought I would just look at some trends over the past few years. It all starts with people, and this graph shows you the growth in membership at Coast over the past 5 years, from 2004 to 2008. It's interesting, you'll note there that Coast has grown by 104,000 members over this 4-year period. And just as a reference point, the British Columbia Credit Union system has grown by 188,000 members. So of the 188,000 membership growth in the BC Credit Union system, 104,000 is with Coast. And that represents a 35% growth in our membership. One of the things that we've noticed through our growth in membership is that the average age of our members has come down a bit, and that is good because our demographic was rising. So you sort of ask the question, why has this occurred? And I believe it's driven by our mission of providing simple financial help and our brand promise of how can we help you. Over the past number of years, we've brought a lot of new products to the market, our free checking, free debit and more account, our haggle-free guarantee. More recently, our high-interest, no-fee savings account, and even more recently, our low-fee, more-for-me mutual funds. These are all great products, and people are joining Coast Capital Savings to take advantage of them. Over those years, you can note the growth in our members' deposits. As our membership has gone up about 35% over that period of time. Our deposits have gone up about 36%. And even better still is the capital in Coast Capital. It's gone from $278,000 in 2004 up to over $500 million in 2008. That's an 80% increase. And I think it just speaks to that consistent growth that we've been able to achieve over a number of years. With the growth in deposits has come a growth in our loans. And you can see how the loan portfolio has gone up. And from 2004 to 2008, our loan portfolio has gone up some $2.36 billion. It's interesting to note, too, growing a loan portfolio is a fairly busy affair. Every month, our loans are paid down $200 million, either by members making their regular monthly payments or paying off their debt. So over a course of a year, that's $2.5 billion that's paid down out of our loan portfolio. So just to stay even, we have to keep on lending at a rate of $2.5 billion per year. You'll note that the graph has dropped off a bit in 2008, and one of the indicators that you see there is the multiple listing sales in our trading area, and you can see how it was going up quite nicely over the first couple of years. Then it dropped off and kind of stabilized a bit, and then it's fallen off quite dramatically in 2008. As a consequence of that, our overall loan portfolio has gone down slightly. Attached to loans is also the business of loan loss allowances. And this graph just tracks how we put aside money for future possible credit losses. And you'll note in 2004, we had about $27 million set aside, and that has now grown to $53 million. And I think that speaks to the conservative approach that we're taking and putting money aside during the good times. So when bad times do arrive, we're well positioned to deal with them. There's no question that business goes in cycle, and we've been very mindful of that and been very careful in setting money aside. I should also note in 2008, and Lloyd's probably going to touch on this, we doubled our normal provision, and through to 2009, we're going to keep making provision at that higher rate. This next line will show you what our actual write-offs have been over the course of the last number of years, and you will see that it's gone up. You know, no question we're in more difficult times. Real estate prices have dropped. Some members have found themselves without employment, so it does put pressure on people, and our credit control people work with our members on finding solutions to their problems. At the present time, and you'll find this in the annual report, there's over 40,000 mortgage loans on the books of Coast Capital Savings, and when you consider 40,000 loans, there's bound to be some foreclosures in a market like we're in. And I'm really quite amazed at how few they are relative to the size of our loan portfolio. If you think 40,000 loans and you figure 10%, that's 4,000, 1%, that's 400. Well, in fact, the number of loans in foreclosure is less than 1/10 of 1%, 35. I'd now like to go from the business part to the community part, and highlight the amount of resources that Coast Capital Savings has invested in the community over the past number of years. Many companies talk about corporate social responsibility. Credit unions in British Columbia, they just simply do it, and I think Coast has learned to do it very well. By way of policy, we allocate 7% of our pre-tax income to various community initiatives. We're recognized by Imagine Canada as one of Canada's caring company leaders. Some of the programs that we're involved in, I'll just give you an example of 4 of them. The Coast Education Awards. Every year we give out education awards to students, post-secondary students in British Columbia. In 2008, we gave out 60 awards for a total of $135,000. One of the premier programs that we've been involved with, which we were involved in founding, was the Cops for Cancer Tours. That happened 12 years ago, and over the course of the last 12 years, Coast has donated, between Coast and our members, $1.5 million to Cops for Cancer. And this is a program that has really caught on. The Canadian Cancer Society has taken to other jurisdictions. Last year, for example, in Coast, 1,000 volunteer hours were committed to Coast, or committed to the tour. And in partnership with the law enforcement agencies and the Canadian Cancer Society, the total program last year raised $1.7 million. And I think that is, it really shows what a difference an organization like Coast can make when it partners with other agencies. Another program that we're involved in here in Victoria is the Youth Empowerment Society and their Youth Hospitality Training Program. And this is an innovative program, and it targets marginalized youth and young adults. First, it deals with life skills training. Secondly, it deals with employment preparation. And thirdly, it helps them secure employment placement with an emphasis on the hospitality sector. Another one of our programs that we started at Coast is our youth team. Every year we have 20 young people, 20 high school students, grades 11 and 12, taking part in our community youth team. There's 8 here on the island and 12 on the mainland, and they participate at all sorts of events, community events, and they're even here tonight. And because they're here tonight, I thought I would introduce them to you. And youth team, if you could just come up front here, please. I said there were 8, and you're counting 9, right? And I'll tell you why. We have a youth team coordinator, Sarah Vasecki. Sarah. Okay. Sarah was in the program 4 years ago, and she's a student at UVic, and she coordinates the 8 high school students. Now, the students here this evening, we have Aaron Baskerville-Bridges from Stellies Secondary School, grade 11, and he's assigned to the Central Saanich branch. Sarah Allen from Victoria High School, grade 12, and she's assigned to the Tillicum branch. Jacqueline Gavis from Oak Bay High School, grade 11, Shelburne branch. David Mackley from Oak Bay High School as well, grade 11, Oak Bay branch. Lana LaRouche from Belmont Secondary School, grade 12, and she's assigned to West Shore branch. Jaslyn Mayhew, Edward Milne Community School, assigned to the Souk branch. And Emma Lindquist, again from Oak Bay High School, grade 12, Bay Center branch. And Chalice McDonald from Mount Doug High School, grade 11, assigned to the Broadmead branch. This is our youth team, and I just think they're spectacular. And if you go into one of the branches I noted on a Saturday, you'll find these young people behind the wicket serving members, and each year they make a presentation to the board and their parents about their activities on the youth team, and it really is quite an amazing experience that they recount to us. I'd like to move on now and talk about a couple of initiatives that we worked on this past year. At the end of 2008, we announced the forthcoming retirement, regretfully, of our CEO, Lloyd Craig, and the board immediately appointed 2 committees. First of all, a transition committee, because not only is Lloyd retiring this year, but also 2 other senior executives are retiring. And we also appointed a selection committee to identify a new CEO and to oversee the recruitment of the other positions that have to be filled this year. We undertook a nationwide search, and tonight I'm pleased to formally announce our new CEO. I was supposed to hit that one a while ago. There's our new CEO. This is Tracy Reddies, who will be assuming the position of President and CEO of Coast Capital Savings in early June. Tracy currently serves as the Executive Vice President of Personal Financial Services and Wealth Management at HSBC Bank Canada. She has more than 20 years of national and international banking experience. Tomorrow, if you check our website, you'll find the news release and more information on Tracy. I'd now like to comment on the board's policy that has driven board renewal. The nominations process and the annual director's election is another board initiative that's intended to strengthen the board. Over the past 3 annual elections, 5 new directors who have been added to the board. Each candidate was recruited and recommended to the membership for election to the board. So in terms of how does this work, first of 3 steps, high-level overview, we determine the overall competencies required to provide the adequate oversight and to engage with management in determining Coast strategy. Secondly, we identify where the gaps may exist. And third, we then provide information to all members on the process and recommendations as to which candidates reflect the current needs of the board. In this past year, when members voted for directors, they would have seen what the board identified as its needs. And there was 4 items. There was knowledge of investment products. There was knowledge of multi-location retail business. There was corporate citizenship, and there was enterprise-wide technologies. And the results of the election will be announced shortly. I should note in 2008, Coast was honored with the Canadian Cooperative Association, or the CCA, Innovations in Cooperative Governance Award. And you can see the nature of that award. CCA represents more than 9 million cooperative and credit union members from over 2,000 organizations nationwide. The judges acknowledge the value of recommending well-qualified individuals for election to the board, as well as staff's role in explaining the election process to members. The president of the Canadian Cooperative Association, Dave Siderum, said, and this is a quote, Coast Capital Savings has consistently raised the bar in terms of the system's understanding and knowledge of the latest thinking and activities relating to governance and the role of the board and directors. So, who is your board? And this is the board as of now, which is going to change slightly at the end of the meeting, but I'm going to show you our 9 other directors. Here you see Dan Burns. Dan is chair of our governance committee, and he also chairs our transition committee. In the middle is Bill Cook. Bill is the former CEO of MD Private Trust, and he has turned out to be a go-to person for both directors and executives in terms of the knowledge that he brings to the organization. Beside Bill is Frank Harper. Frank's a chartered accountant, and he is chair of the Audit and Risk Management Committee. So you might note they're all men. Well, here we go. And this wasn't fixed. Mary Jordan's one of our newer directors from last year. Mary is a former senior executive with Air Canada, former executive director of the Centre for Disease Control, which is probably a very busy place right now, and most recently was with Laidlaw International. Karen Kestelow, certified general accountant, as chair of the Investment and Loan Committee, and Gail Stevens, also a CGA. She was CEO of the BC Pension Corp and then was with the University of Calgary. And I'm told there was an announcement today, which I'm allowed to speak to. I got a nod. Gail is the new manager of the City of Victoria. So Gail will be moving back to the City of Victoria and taking on a very interesting role running the city. Congratulations, Gail. And back to the men. We have Doug Stone. Doug's the chair of our HR committee, Human Resources Committee, and also chair of the Selection Committee, and has done a great job in sourcing out a new CEO for Coast. Glenn Wong is chair of our Nominations Committee. Glenn is also, well, he's not so new anymore. He's been around for a couple of years, and is former president of Electronic Arts, former president of Rogers Cable TV in BC, and former president of BC Hot House. And last, on the right, is Bob Garnett. Bob's a chartered accountant, and he has been chairing the Conduct Review Committee this past year. I'd just like to acknowledge Bob. Bob's retiring from the board this year after many years of service. If I could read that number, I would say how many years, but you can probably see it. Bob's been the vice chair of COAST for I think, since COAST was formed, and he's been a great support for me and somebody that I could speak to as required for advice. And Bob, you're going to be missed. Bob, in his life on the mainland, though, is a chair, not chair, but a director of a very busy organization called TransLink. So, and we even hear about TransLink over in Victoria, Bob, so I know, I know you're busy. I'd like to thank my board colleagues, all of them, for the very good work that they do. If there were the most effective board in the country contest, I would like to enter our board because I do believe that we're right up there. Before I conclude my remarks, I'd like to acknowledge the Financial Institutions Commission, or FICOM as they're called, and the role this important provincial agency plays in the well-being of all British Columbia credit unions. Over the past year, we've adopted a number of recommendations from the Commission, some general to all BC credit unions and some specific to COAST. I'd also like to thank you, our members, for your trust in COAST. As I noted in the board's message in the annual report, COAST is very well positioned for the future. And I'd like to thank Lloyd, his executive team, and the 1,878 employees at COAST. There are many reasons why COAST has become a leading Canadian financial institution, and I would like to show you 9 reasons. That's our senior executive team. Lloyd's in the middle. And just to introduce them to you, across the top, there's Sheila Baker, our Chief Information Officer. Going across the top is Herman Bessert. Now, Herman retired just 29 days ago, has been our CFO for many years. Mike Bouchard, our Chief Innovation Officer. To Lloyd's left, Laurie Ferguson, Senior Vice President Marketing. Lloyd. And to Lloyd's right is Jan Forty, our Senior Vice President of Human Resources. Across the lower row is Nancy McNeil, our Senior Vice President of Administration, David Munson, our Chief Credit Officer, and bottom right is Joel Rosenberg, our Chief Operating Officer. This was our senior executive team at December 31st, 2008. Changes will be occurring in 2009, and I should also note in 2009 we established another executive position called Chief Risk Officer. And that position is being filled by secondment right now by an individual from Deloitte's, and Ian Thomas is here tonight, and I thank Ian for the good work he's doing getting that position launched. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Board of COAST and all our employees and you and our members, I want to thank Lloyd for the leadership that he's provided to COAST and wish him all the very best. He has made more changes to the credit union system than anybody else. And in particular, he has done just a terrific job of taking COAST from what it was back in 2002 to what we have today. So, Lloyd, thank you. And I'm now going to ask you to, first of all, you've got to carry on for a few more weeks, Lloyd. Don't go anywhere. Okay? And now you're going to come and give your report.
Thank you very much, Bill. Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to be able to share with you the financial performance and corporate achievements of Coast Capital from 2008. In a year where we witnessed financial institutions struggling to react to unprecedented financial and economic uncertainty, we continued to focus on our established strengths: banking, investment, and insurance services. The results: Coast Capital's savings performance in 2008 was strong and stable. The last 5 years have been good for Coast Capital. We have launched many innovative and successful products. We've taken the Coast Capital experience to the next level with our Apereo-style branches. We've extended branch hours to accommodate our members. We've repositioned our investment services. We've enhanced the brand, strengthened our community support, and we have experienced extraordinary customer growth. These pieces of the puzzle are working together to keep us relevant and stronger for the consumer. Our financial results are included in our 2008 annual report, available for you to pick up tonight. The theme, Let's Talk Numbers, speaks to our dedication to face our current economic environment with the same strength and openness with which we face the unprecedented growth cycle of the last decade. So let's talk numbers. The first number I'd like to talk about is zero. That's how much we charge in regular transaction fees for our unique free checking, free debit, and more account. We believe that members should have the ability to access their money without having to pay ridiculous fees. This belief has resonated with our members and also with the general public. Earlier this year, we added 2 new products that are based on a similar philosophy: the high-interest, no-fee savings account and the low-fee, more-for-me mutual funds are providing members with what they have come to expect from Coast: innovative investment options. It's working. We now have over 404,000 members. Our pre-tax earnings in 2008 increased from 2007, and this in a year where global economic uncertainty led to a higher risk environment for all financial institutions. We were recognized in 2008 as a top employer in BC, a national leader in corporate governance, and a caring company for our community involvement. We've made it our mission to deliver simple financial help by offering products and services that set us apart and meet your financial needs. But we do live in a global economy. That was borne out this past year with a reminder of just how interconnected the world's economy really is. Coast Capital Savings is committed to excel, to pull ahead, and be a leader in the financial services industry. Our strategy and reputation as a conservative mortgage, personal, and business lender helped keep us strong and secure. Over 75% of the funds we lend are from retail deposits rather than from funding sourced in capital markets. Our exposure to the asset-backed commercial paper crisis was measured and controlled. We remain strong, and we remain stable. While we need to maintain a healthy financial bottom line and make decisions to reflect the basic economics of sound banking, corporate citizenship is a key part of who we are as a business. Coast Capital Savings aspires to be a leading company committed to helping communities achieve economic success and improve their quality of life. In 2008, Coast Capital Savings contributed more than $5 million to the communities we serve. As our annual report suggests, our numbers, we believe, do speak for themselves. Our commitment to innovation has returned desirable results over the past few years, and it also prepared us for the challenges of 2008 and beyond. Pre-tax earnings increased to $72.3 million in 2008, up from $71.8 million in 2007. However, our income tax rate increased from 18% to 27%. Therefore, net income for the year was $52.4 million, compared with $58.6 million in the preceding year. Three other factors that affected net income in 2008 were the Bank of Canada's 2.5% drop, additional write-downs of $8 million on our asset-backed commercial paper, and our increased provision for credit losses from $8 million to $15.6 million. Return on average assets was 0.55% in 2008 compared to 0.65% in 2007. Coast Capital Savings assets increased to $10.4 billion in 2008, up from $9.9 billion in 2007. This figure shows that we continue to manage our assets and grow our business effectively. Mutual funds under administration decreased to $1.4 billion in 2008 compared to $1.8 billion in 2007. This is a reflection of the equity markets. Total assets under administration, our assets on and off our balance sheet, increased to an all-time high of $12.3 billion compared to $11.8 billion in 2007. Our commercial loan portfolio grew by 10% compared to 16% growth in 2007, with small business representing the majority of businesses in British Columbia. We have 2 new accounts as part of our Big Perks for Small Business program. The one small fee, the rest is free business account, and the deposit for free business account helped increase net business account growth by 18% over 2007. Our goal is to continue to develop these small business relationships and build our credit and deposit business with them. Return on equity was 11.4% compared to 14.9% in 2007. Regulatory capital increased from 10.4% to 11.1% as our accumulated earnings grew at a faster pace than our risk-weighted assets. Our merger took place in 2002, and in the last 7 years, we have produced after-tax profit of $320 million. This increased capital base has allowed Coast Capital Savings to grow. Net interest income remained largely steady in 2008 and was $211 million compared to $212 million the year before. I'm pleased to note that our operating efficiency improved from 72.2% to 69.5% as revenue growth continued to exceed cost increases. This means it costs us just over 69 cents to generate $1 in revenue. Our pursuit of operating efficiency will continue to be relentless, a response to the highly competitive nature of our industry. I would like to speak for a moment about the non-retail banking side of our organization. Our Coast Capital Savings commercial real estate team offers developers an array of full-service construction and term lending solutions. In 2008, our commercial real estate portfolio totaled $2.5 billion. Construction and project financing increased by 11%, while growth in longer-term mortgage financing was 10%. Last year, 4,000 new businesses sought the advice and expertise of our small business specialists. As a result, business deposit accounts grew by 4%, and the number of total business accounts grew by 18%. Our small business operating accounts increased to 26,000 from 22,000, an increase of 18%. In 2008, Coast Capital Insurance Services demonstrated its passion for innovation, becoming more attractive to its present and future clients. Through these operations, members are able to purchase various forms of insurance and invest in segregated funds and/or the equity markets. General insurance continues to be a reliable and growing segment of our business, with revenues reaching $21 million in 2008. Equipment financing has become another growing business segment, with lease receivables reaching $186 million in 2008 compared to $171 million in 2007. The service has expanded outside of British Columbia through our wholly owned subsidiary, Coast Capital Equipment Finance Limited, providing financing in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. It has been said that most people are more comfortable with old problems than with new solutions and long to keep to the status quo. Clearly, those people don't work at Coast Capital Savings. It's obvious that we value innovation and we pride ourselves on our ability to deliver unbeatable solutions to the consumer. We introduced added security features to our online banking system. This product provides additional layers of security for members who use online banking, including a picture selection, a member-defined phrase, and a series of predetermined security questions. Coast Capital was first in line for the implementation of this product last summer. We continue to exhibit our commitment to the safeguarding of your financial and personal information through the latest technologies and best practices. We introduced Coast Mobile Banking last year. Now, members use simple text messaging commands to check their account balances and view recent transactions on their accounts. This is just one of the easy and secure services we provide to make the lives of our busy members more manageable. As communities in BC continue to grow and change, so do we. In an effort to increase our physical presence in Metro Vancouver, we continue to expand our branch network. We opened 2 new branches in 2008 and relocated 2 others to better serve our members. We continue to support consolidation within the credit union industry, a direction that will help ensure that credit unions remain a strong secondary tier of financial institutions. We also support the initiative to amalgamate Canada's provincial credit union centrals to consolidate resources and lower costs. The BC and Ontario centrals merged effective July the 1st, 2008, forming Central One Credit Union. The combined organization provides payments, treasury, internet banking, and trade services to more than 200 credit unions in BC and Ontario. We believe this progress will continue and is a positive step towards further consolidation of credit unions. We also strongly support the Case for Progress legislation, which is designed to allow interested credit unions to operate outside their traditional provincial boundaries. This will help ensure further opportunities for growth for Canadian credit unions. It will be another challenging year as the disruptions in the credit markets continue and the Bank of Canada reacts by already lowering short-term interest rates to compensate. But in many ways, 2009 will be a year of milestones. As of today, we have 50 branches, more than $10 billion in assets, over 400,000 members, and 200,000 free checking accounts. So as you know, this is my final AGM. It has been my pleasure and privilege to be a part of Coast Capital Savings and to see our credit union grow into the organization it is today, from our innovative products and services to the value we offer consumers and the help we offer our communities. I would like to thank the board, the executive, and our great staff for their dedication and for leading the way as we move into the future and new areas of opportunity. We are strong. We are well positioned to deliver on our How Can We Help You brand promise. And we are committed to growth, in 2009 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. We'll move to item number 10, receipt of the 2008 Auditor's Report and financial results. Lloyd has provided a good overview of our results for the year. I don't know how many of you have the actual annual report, but I was going to refer to a couple of items there on page 21. There's two narratives there. One is the management's responsibility for the financials, and I'll just hit the high spots. It says that the consolidated financial statements are the responsibility of management and have been approved by the Board of Directors. And down at the bottom of that statement, it says KPMG has been appointed by the membership as independent auditors to examine and report on the consolidated financial statements. They have full and free access to the internal audit staff and the Audit and Risk Management Committee of the Board. And then the auditor's report, 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph says what they've done. The second paragraph says how they've done it. And the third paragraph is the important one. It says, in our opinion, this is KPMG talking, these consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Coast Capital Savings Credit Union as at December 31st, 2008. Are there any questions on the financial statements? Hearing none, I declare them received. We'll now move to item 11, motion to appoint an auditor for the ensuing year. It's your board's recommendation that KPMG be appointed auditors for 2009 and that their remuneration be set by the Board of Directors. May I have somebody move that, please? Thank you. A seconder? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please indicate. Thank you. Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. To item number 12, we have the report of the Nominations Committee on the election of directors. And I'd like to introduce to you, once again, but this time in person, Glenn Wong, the chair of our Nominations Committee.
No. Can you take that? I got a lot to say, Bill. Thank you, Bill, and good evening. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the Nominations Committee to report the results of the 2009 Directors' Election. This year, I chaired the committee with, and that also included on that committee your board chair, Bill Wellburn, and my fellow director, Doug Stone. A highly engaged board of directors with the right balance of skills and experience is a cornerstone of effective governance. Collectively, directors must have the required skills and experience to effectively carry out the board's oversight responsibilities on behalf of the membership and work with management to provide input to and approve Coast Capital Savings' strategic plan and process. In order to achieve these expectations, a nominations committee is appointed annually. This committee reports directly to members and is made up of directors who are not currently eligible for re-election. Using the annual nominations process as an opportunity to strengthen the board, they evaluate the board's current members and identify additional skills, business experience, and qualifications needed to assist Coast Capital Savings in achieving its long-term strategic goals. This evaluation is completed with expert advice from an independent governance consultant to ensure a fair process for all the nominees, the members, and the needs of the credit union. As part of the process, a director recruitment profile is developed. It sets out the attributes needed to further strengthen the board going forward. This information is shared with all Coast Capital Savings members in the member newsletter when the annual call for nominations for qualified candidates is made. In addition, the Nominations Committee and the governance consultant actively recruit qualified candidates. These candidates must meet the specific skills and business experience identified by the board's governance committee and then filled by the nominations committee. We carefully review the nominations received in detail, and after an extensive process, including interviews, analysis of past work experience, community contributions, and detailed reference checks, we recommend individuals who can offer significant skills and expertise that will be required by the Coast Capital Savings Board for continued success. This year, the committee's analysis determined that experience in developing investment products and services in the financial services sector, development and delivery of business system strategies, corporate citizenship, risk management, and multi-location retail business at a national level are the skills required to further strengthen the Board of Directors. From year to year, we expect the skills required to enhance the Board of Directors, that it will vary in response to the changing needs of the credit union and the skills currently available on the board. Last November, nominations were accepted from candidates interested in standing in the 2009 Board of Directors election. A total of 6 candidates let their names stand, 3 who were recommended by the committee and 3 other candidates. The nominations committee was to recommend 3 candidates it believes can provide significant expertise and are most qualified to fill the 3 upcoming positions on your Board of Directors. While many candidates offer excellent skills, if those skills do not align with the current year's needs, the candidate will not be recommended by the committee. However, we do maintain a database of all interested potential candidates as a source for future year's vacancies. At the end of the process, the committee and the consultant recommended the 3 candidates who they considered to be the most qualified to fill the available positions. We recognize that it is impossible for every voting member to undertake the same rigorous review on their own. The nominations committee and our work is meant to assist members in making an informed voting decision. The candidate information in the brochure follows exactly the same format for all recommended and other candidates so that members have the same candidate-supplied information to make their own decision. The nominations committee goal was to ensure the information was communicated as clearly and as accurately as possible. The practice in the credit union system of identifying the skill gaps on boards, profiling the needed attributes and expertise of directors, and recommending candidates standing for election is growing. This practice is recognized by the Canadian Cooperative Association as a best practice for good corporate governance. How you vote is your decision. The information of the committee provides you is meant to help members in making an informed decision. All members of the credit union received the information about candidate recruitment by mail in October. Interested members were provided with information packages and an opportunity to attend a mandatory information session. The director's election was conducted from March 27th to April 15th, 2009, in accordance with the credit union rules. Each year, the nominations committee appoints an individual independent of the credit union to serve as the returning officer to oversee election process. Jerry De La Mattia, who has extensive experience as a senior electoral officer in federal and provincial elections, served as our returning officer again this year. I'm pleased to report that in this year's election, 17,195 votes were cast in total, with 15,171 of these being valid ballots. Since 2007, valid vote totals for our board elections have nearly doubled, and I'd like to thank members for participating in this very important critical process. The 17,000 plus ballots included 963 spoiled and 1,061 rejected ballots, resulting in 15,171 valid ballots for this election. A spoiled ballot is defined as any ballot in which the member voted for too few or too many candidates. A ballot was rejected if it was not possible to complete the required verification data. The individual results for each candidate are as follows. Dan Burns, 13,639 votes. Christian Finley, 13,223. Karen Kestelou, 13,051. Elizabeth Woods, 2,951. Rajinder Sahota, 1,959. And Partap Singh, 690. The committee declares Dan Burns Christian Findlay and Karen Kestawu, elected to the Board of Directors for a 3-year term. And I'd like to thank all of the candidates who let their names stand in this year's election. And in closing, I just wanted to thank the members of the committee, Bill Wellburn and Doug Stone. I want to thank you for your thoughtful contributions, your patience, especially with me, determination and vision for the credit union to make critical decisions in support of good governance for Canada's second largest credit union. We look forward to answering any questions or hearing any comments you might have during the members' open forum, which is later on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn, and congratulations to our successful candidates. We'll move to item number 13 now, members' resolutions and new business. Ladies and gentlemen, to ensure members receive adequate notice of matters to be considered at an AGM, Coast Capital's rules state that an ordinary resolution to be eligible for consideration must be submitted to the Board of Directors for review and consideration at least 90 days prior to the meeting, and the Board, at its discretion, shall determine whether the resolution shall be submitted to the members for consideration at the meeting. No accepted resolutions were received from members by the published deadline of January 7th, 2009. I would now like to call for any questions on reports or any other new business. Q will now move to item number 15, Board of Directors closing remarks. At this time, I'd like to thank the staff who organized this meeting. It might look easy from where you sit, but I know it's a lot of work, and I think they do a great job. I'd also like to thank the Marriott Hotel for servicing us, and again, my board colleagues and Lloyd and his team, employees and members. We're coming to the conclusion of the formal part of the meeting. It'll be followed by an announcement of the winner of the 2009 Director Election Contest and the Deloitte Award presentation, and then by the members' open forum, which everyone is welcome to stay for. May I please have a motion to conclude the formal part of this annual general meeting? You, seconder, please. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. I'll now give you the results of the draw. Following the close of the director election on April 15, 2009, a random draw was conducted from all eligible entries received. I am pleased to announce the winner of the 2009 director's election draw of a $3,000 deposit to a tax-free savings account is Wendy Fiddler of Duncan, BC. And as the winner of this contest, Ms. Fiddler can also direct a $3,000 donation to a United Way agency of her choice. And I just should say for your information that the random draw is supervised. It's conducted by our returning officer, Mr. Jerry Delamatia, and I'm sure that Ms. Fiddler is not related to Mr. Delamatia. And just by way of interest, last year's winner directed the $3,000 donation to the Alzheimer's Society of BC, which is a United Way agency. I would now like to introduce Tony Bark. Tony's a partner in the audit function of Deloitte's, and he is going to make a presentation to our Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm here on behalf of CIBC, Queen's School of Business, the National Post and Deloitte. We are the sponsors of Canada's 50 Best Managed Companies program. A little bit of background on the program. The process of identifying winners involves the completion by applicants of Phase 1 and 2 questionnaires, and then that's followed by a detailed interview. The interview involves meeting with the management team and employees, and from that process, regional finalists across the country were identified and selected. In the final stage, the regional finalists' information is forwarded to a national independent judging panel. And Coast Capital, I'm pleased to say, has once again been selected as a winner. So I would like to congratulate Coast Capital Savings on being a 2008 winner of the Canada's 50 Best Managed Companies Awards program. However, there's something even better. Most importantly, I want to applaud the recognition of Coast as a Platinum Award winner. This is given to 50 best managed companies who have won at least 6 years in a row. I'll tell you that you're keeping some very fine company. These are the other Platinum Award winners in British Columbia: A&W Food Services, Boston Pizza, Custom House Currency Exchange, Fred Dealey Imports, otherwise known as the Harley Davidson guys, Golder Associates, that's an engineering firm, Odlum Brown Limited, and the Oppenheimer Group, a food distribution company. So it's very good company. So to summarize, I should just say that being the best managed winner provides you with the opportunity to externally advertise that Coast Capital Savings is a great organization made up of great people, great services, and great processes, something I'm sure all of you in the room already know. So on behalf of the sponsors, Deloitte, CIBC Commercial Banking, Queen's School of Business, and the National Post, congratulations once again, and we wish you continued success in the future. So, Lloyd, I've got a very nice plaque, and I think we should walk down to the front so that we don't...
Tony?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much for coming over.
Yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Before we begin the members' open forum, I'd just like to make a few short announcements. If you're leaving now, directors and staff are not available to answer your questions. However, we will be available to speak to any of you at the conclusion of the members' open forum. We're color-coded. Directors have red flowers, roses, boutonnieres, and the executives are wearing yellow. When you leave, I'd ask that you please recycle your information packages and the stations provided in the lobby unless you believe you should live with it. We'll now move to item number 16, the members' open forum and discussion. We'll follow the same rules of order as were approved earlier, and I will alternate between questions that may be in this room and questions that may be coming online. So if anyone wishes to approach a mic, please do so. And when you do, please provide your name and your branch affiliation.
My name's Elizabeth Woods, and I'm with the Bay Centre branch here in Victoria. And I just wanted to comment, I was very disappointed to see the foundation, Coast Capital Foundation, wound up. I had the privilege of serving on the board for just 1 year, and I was very impressed by the work that that foundation was doing in supporting many relatively small projects that were designed to encourage leadership among youth. And I know that those sponsorships have been taken over into the marketing department, and I'm sure that the marketing department will carry it out with a great deal of conscientiousness and attention to detail. But I think we have lost quite a bit of prestige. It was a small foundation, but it was doing excellent work at arm's length. It did provide lots of opportunities for acknowledging Coast Capital Savings, and I'm really very sorry to see that it's gone. And I wish that at some point the board and executive would acknowledge the work of the foundation to the membership in general. And I'd like to have my remarks recorded as being so disappointed in seeing the end of that organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. And just by way of explanation, that was a decision that was not taken lightly. It was supported by a business case that came forward to the Governance Committee and then on to the Board. And the justification for it was to allow us to do an even better job. The individuals who served on the foundation have not been lost. We're keeping an advisory group, or staff are keeping an advisory group made up of individuals like that who could be consulted and provide advice to staff on how the programs should be funded. So not all is lost, and I think we'll find in time that we're doing an even better job. Microphone number 1.
Good evening. My name is Leo Young. I'm with Results Canada. My question today is around Coast Capital's commitment and thoughts around microcredit. What we've seen around the world last year, an approximately 40% drop in the value of the world markets, and this involved the developing and the developed world. The undeveloped world, 2 billion people have been chugging along. Their economy is based on very real things: cows, chickens, stoves, ladies with cell phones and chargers. So the investments in microcredit are very grounded in the real world, and they don't evaporate like fictitious investment portfolios in the first world. So this last winter, I wrote a number of financial institutions around British Columbia and received back a lot of interest from institutions that are considering creating microcredit-based funds. So, of course, Van City already has its microcredit fund that's available here in British Columbia and around all of Canada through Citizens Bank, except in Quebec. So, so my question is, in a world where the developing world's value of assets seems to be bouncing around so much, but things that are rooted in tangible assets stay steady and hold their value, would it not be a good idea, in the interest of diversification, to move some of the portfolio into microcredit?
You're talking about in British Columbia?
Actually, I'm thinking of investment opportunities where British Columbians can come to Coast Capital, deposit their money, and have their money invested safely in microcredit options around the world.
I believe that falls outside of our powers of doing business. Our loans are made in British Columbia. We're a British Columbia regulated financial institution.
I'm wondering how Van City does it then.
I can't speak for that organization. However, they do have a bank subsidiary which might have more ability to do things. You know, I should mention, though, when it comes to microcredit, Coast Capital Savings does have a program that does target small businesses in British Columbia, and it is active, and it is writing loans for small businesses that wouldn't otherwise qualify for normal credit. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in this forum? If there's no further questions, this will draw the meeting to an end. So thank you all very much for turning out. I appreciate your support of Coast Capital Savings. Thank you.